Dobro večer, drago mi vas je sve, ili dobar dan, s obzirom koliko je vruće. Drago mi vas je sve pozdraviti ovdje u Francuskoj Medijateci na promociji romana jednog od najzanimljivijih autora mlađe nizozemske generacije, Ernesta van der Kwasta. Molim vas, jedan veliki pljesak za Ernesta. Ove promocije ne bi bilo bez pomoći Veleposlanstva Kraljevine Nizozemske, kao ni Nizozemskog fonda za književnost. Jednako tako zahvaljujem i Francuskom institutu koji nas je ovdje ugostio. A za sam kraj ćemo vam pripremiti nekakvo iznenađenje, možete pretpostaviti i kako. Dakle, Ernest van der Kwast rodio se 1981. godine u Mumbaju u Indiji, ali već kao dječak, rekao mi je, nije imao, mislim, mjesec dana ili tako nešto, se vratio u Rotterdam kod svojih roditelja. Debitirao je 2005. godine romanom Nekad su stvari ljepše ako ljudi o njima klepeću. Pod pseudonimom Sigar Slot objavio roman Stand In. Slavu je stekao romanom Mama Tandori 2010. koji je bio apsolutni bestseller u Nizozemskoj, gdje se prodao više od 100.000 primjeraka, zatim Italiji gdje se prodao više od 20 ili možda čak i više tisuća primjeraka. Nakon toga slijedi novela Giovanna Neville, zatim knjiga Obitelj Lazurije, onda ovaj roman Sladoledari, o kojem ćemo više govoriti danas, i 2016. još je tu knjiga Čudo koje se nije dogodilo. Ernest van der Kwast je vrlo plodan pisac, osim što se bavi pisanjem, jer kojim je glavna preokupacija odnosno u gradu gdje je odrastao u Rotterdamu, vodi literarne razgovore i piše više kolumna za više nizozemskih novina. You here?
Yes.
Okay. Ovaj roman prevela je Josipa Dvoraček, ja bih vas molio pljesak za Josipu, koja je ovdje sa nama. To je njezin prvi prijevod nekoga romana i moram priznati da ga je prevela izvrsno, a u kabini tamo u ovom akvariju se znoji da bi nam prevodila sa hrvatskog na engleski, sa engleskog na hrvatskoj, Hrva Hefer, pa vas molim jedan pljesak za njih. Kada govorimo dakle o sladoledarima, taj roman je preveden već na više jezika. Ovaj roman govori o jednoj talijanskoj obitelji i o njihovim problemima, ali o tome ćemo svemu više u ovome razgovoru. Erneste, ja bih te za početak pitao, dakle, otkuda sladoled, otkuda fascinacija sladoledom? U redu, svi volimo sladoled, ali ti si od sladoleda napravio ovdje zapravo jednu poemu i sladoledu i ljubavi. Dakle, otkuda ta fascinacija sladoledom? You don't hear?
I need another one. Could she repeat the question?
Yes, of course. Možeš ti, Hrva, ili da ponovim?
A little bit, I think.
Just a second.
Yeah, it's more the...
More the...
making a lot of... You sound like a robot. We don't look.
Daj mi slušalice jedno. Ne znam šta se događa.
I think it's this.
Yes, I think. Slušalice, samo ove.
Does anyone has...
Okay. I'll ask you a question in English, so...
Meanwhile, I can answer it.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
So, the first question is going about, so, How about and why ice cream? You made a poem for ice cream. You made a poem, a novel based on ice cream and love and people who make ice cream. So we all of us, we love ice creams, of course, but how it's come that you made such that ice cream become the center of your novel?
I think you should be very lucky to have an idea for a novel. It's something that happens very rarely. And it happened to me for this novel in 2002. I was in the northern part of Italy. I had to leave the country, the Netherlands, because my mother wanted me to finish my studies, economy. I have a bachelor degree in fiscal, tax economics. Don't laugh. If you need any advice, I can help you. Still, also international laws I have studied. Because my mother is an Indian woman, so she's quite strong in her beliefs, and she didn't want to have a son as an artist, because she was afraid that I would lie underneath a bridge or something and need money from other people. So I knew that I wasn't, my life wasn't sure in the Netherlands if I would say I'm going to stop my studies. And when I did say it to my mother, because I struggled a lot, I did study 3 years in Rotterdam at the Erasmus University and combined it with writing novels. I published 2 novels during studying economics. I wrote in the night and I tried to get my eyes open during the readings, the lectures on the university. And when I told my mother, I'm going to make you unhappy and make myself happy, I will choose the path of the writer. She went inside. It was in the house in Kralingen, where we lived in Rotterdam, and she went inside and came out with a black dust, a bin bag where you put the how you say the rubbish in it, and she burned it in the garden. And the neighbor was asking, "What are you doing? Are you making meat or something, or are you grilling vegetables?" And she said, "No, I'm trying to send away the evil ghost of Ernest." So that was her opinion of me becoming a writer. So therefore, I knew, okay, I can't stay in the Netherlands, and I could have an apartment for half a year in Bolzano, very up north in Italy. And I started writing there, but it was very lonely. I ate 3 times a day on my own, breakfast, lunch and dinner. So after a while the writing got difficult, and then I heard also the voice of my mother saying, "Go back to your studies, stop writing." So I only had 1 phone number with me, which was from the Italian ice cream maker who had an ice cream parlor, an ice cream shop in Rotterdam. And I told him before I left Rotterdam to Italy that I'm going to write in Bolzano. And he said, "Oh, we live nearby. You should come to us." So I phoned him and I explained that I was a bit lonely and I hoped that he would or his wife would cook me a warm meal. So they invited me, and I took the train to Fortezza and Dobbiaco, which are really northern cities covered with a lot of snow. And he picked me up with his car, and we drove an hour through the snow, and then we drove into a valley which really opened up in front of us, and we drove. When we drove in this valley, he said, "This is where the ice cream makers live." And that was the point. I thought, oh, this is so mythical that there's a valley where ice cream makers live. And then I started, okay, one day I want to write a novel about the people from the valley of the ice cream makers. And I start from that point to convince myself, because when you are that lucky that you hear 1 sentence that can carry a whole novel, but then you have to convince yourself 1,000,000 times that there's enough to tell. There are enough ingredients, there are enough stories to pile up and make a novel out of it.
I hope this one.
Da li radi ovaj?
Yes.
Ok, perfect.
How does this work? Not all Dutch authors are so close.
I tako, dakle, ta dolina je bila to mjesto, mitsko mjesto koje se otvorilo, ali, dakle, da li je taj sladoledar iz Rotterdama, da li ste, kako ste njega poznavali u Rotterdamu, dakle, da li je to isto, opet nešto? Ajde probaj, molim te. Sve se prekida. Mislim da je problem u kanalu. Ajde mislim da je... Ajde na kanalu 1 engleski. Obrnuto, ono što je domaći engleski. So, it's okay? Otvorilo se, dakle, ta dolina, poznavali ste tog sladoledara, dakle, da li ste kod tog sladoledara u Rotterdamu išli na sladoled i kakav je bio okus tog sladoleda? I da li se zapravo taj sladoled, okus sladoleda iz djetinjstva vama i danas promijenio, ili je to isti, ili je to onaj kolačić Madeleine bio također?
I always went to another ice cream shop. I always went to another ice cream shop, the competing one, in my youth. But these were from a different valley, and they came later. There are different generations making ice cream, and according to the history, the people from the Cadore Valley, really up north, were the first one, and other Italians saw then how successful it was, and they copied them, and so there's a real competition between them, when you're from the north or when you're from around from Tuscany. And according to the North people, you're not the real ice cream makers. But I often went to ice cream parlors, and still going now to the ice cream makers of the, because you can, if you read the book, The Ice Cream Shop, as described in my novel, you will find it in Rotterdam. There are people coming to this ice cream shop with books from China, the translations, and Germany, and then the guy whose name is also Giovanni has to explain, no, I'm not a Giovanni, and I don't have any children, and my brother, I haven't made the children of my brother, and I don't like poetry, and Ernest is really crazy. So, but every now and then I sit there with my family, and we have a great conversation. And last time I moderated a talk show in Rotterdam, Rotterdam Late Night. It's about architecture and culture, and every edition I bring an ode to someone in the city, and I always wanted to bring an ode to his father of Giovanni, Giuseppe, the old ice cream maker, but he's quite difficult. And I asked Giovanni, and he said, I think 100 times no, and then I forced him. I said, I have a deadline and I can't find anyone else, you should help me. And then I interviewed him for the talk show, to bring an ode. And so things go, fiction and reality go a little bit, they meet each other sometimes.
Kada govorimo, dakle, o ovome romanu, ovo je roman koji govori, dakle, naravno o tim sladoledarima, o jednoj specijalnoj obitelji sladoledara, koja ima jednu crnu ovcu, jednoga Giovannija koji zapravo odlučio da se odrekne obiteljske tradicije, da krene u druge vode, da te vode ne budu sladoledarske, već da to bude književnost. Dakle, koliko ima Giovannija u vama, a koliko je, dakle, on je potpuno naravno fikcionalan. Vi ste isto, kao što ste rekli, niste htjeli studirati ekonomiju, nego se baviti književnošću. Giovanni nije želio se baviti sladoledarstvom, nego književnošću. Dakle, koliko je ta snaga književnosti jaka da može odvući čovjeka u neizvjesno?
I think there's a lot of similarities between the life or not the life, but the dreams of Giovanni and my dreams. I had severe problems to get myself free from my mother. I was only 22 years old, I believe, when I eventually could say to my mother, no, I'm not going to be what you want to be. I'm going to try to become who I am, the writer, the man who loves stories and not numbers and money and economics or etc. And for Giovanni, I think it's even more difficult. Of course, I had my mother. An Indian mother is very difficult. I hope you will publish Mama Tandoori. The previous novel I've written is about. The whole novel is about my mother, and it's crazy, it's funny, but it's also very tragic, I think, because it's about a mother who really wishes the best for her sons, but her oldest son is mentally disabled. And when I said that I wanted to become a writer, she cried and she said to the neighbors, my oldest son is mentally disabled, my youngest son is a writer. It was completely the same. You can laugh, and you probably will laugh a lot while reading Mama Tandoori, the novel, but it hurt. It was quite difficult for me. And Giovanni doesn't have an Indian mother, but he has a father who has the wish and an expectation, and not only his father. It's 5 generations that made ice cream before him. So it's really a family tradition and the expectation that you, as a son, go into the ice cream shop, and he doesn't want it, and he has discussions with his father, and his father didn't want to become an ice cream maker, and then Giovanni says, okay, why weren't you strong enough? And he said, I couldn't, because there was no room. I had to, because my father needed me, and what Giovanni does is he has the power and the strength to stop with the ice cream making, but therefore his father has to work until 75 or something, and it's one of the sentences in the novel that his father is complaining about his life, and he summarizes it as in a sentence, I had 52 years no summer at all, because he had to work 52 years as an ice cream maker. You don't make ice cream in the winter, you have to make it in the summer. So it really feels like a difficult job if you don't like the job, if you don't see it as your passion. And I interviewed a lot of ice cream makers, and I used a lot of stories, but even after the book was published, I encountered a story which really moved me, because it was far more tragic than the book that I have written. It was about a son who committed suicide, and it was the son of an ice cream maker, because he didn't want to become an ice cream maker, but it was the expectation of his family.
Kada govorimo dakle o tim, obitelj je zapravo ključna u ovome romanu. Oko obitelji se sve vrti, obitelj je ta koja ima nekakva očekivanja, dakle od sina, ali to prelazi onda na mlađega sina koji mora onda ispuniti ta očekivanja, koji onda postaje sladoledar i koji postaje senzacionalan sladoledar, koji je pravi umjetnik u upravljanju sladoleda. Međutim, on prestaje komunicirati sa bratom na jedno dulje vrijeme. Dakle, koliko je ta obiteljska priča, meni se čini da je prilično važna ovdje, vam bila važna, i koliko su ti odnosi između dva brata koji su zaljubljeni u istu djevojku, koju na kraju, koja je iz Italije, koju na kraju oženi mlađi brat, a onda je, kao što ste rekli, stariji mora napraviti najveću žrtvu, mora napraviti dijete, praviti se da to dijete ne poznaje. Dakle, koliko je ta obiteljska priča bila ona oko koje ste zapravo gradili? Meni se čini da je zapravo Sladoled bio nekakav početni impuls, ali onda zapravo da je obitelj bila ta koja je, oko koje se sve krenulo vrtiti.
It's true that I think the ice cream valley, the story of the ice cream makers. I read a lot of books about ice cream, about the economic development. But then you don't have your main story, and you have to invent it yourself. And I think love is a very important ingredient in novels. So I think chronically, if you watch the book chronically, it starts with a love story with the two brothers who fall in love with the same girl, Sophia, when they're, I don't know how old they are, I think 10 or 11 years. So it's not, it's a crush, but it's not a consuming love. Nothing really happens. But already then, I think, I'm the writer, so I might be right, but I think Giovanni already knows then that he doesn't want to become an ice cream maker, and therefore his brother has to become an ice cream maker. So there's already a debt to be filled, to be paid. And he already in his youth already gives Sophia away and knows, okay, there will be, you will going to do the ice cream shop, and then you need a wife, and I'm not going to do the ice cream shop, and then I don't need a wife. That's when you look at it from a distance. But of course, love doesn't obey these kind of rules. Love doesn't have any rules. It has only feeling. So I try, and Giovanni or Luca and Sophia getting married, but then they have a problem. She can't get pregnant because of his his sperm is not moving enough, or I don't know what the problem is exactly. And they pray, because they're Catholics, and they pray and the mothers pray, but then in the end, Luca asks his brother and says, "Look, there's still this debt. I'm doing the ice cream business, and now you're going to make the child." And it sounds a bit strange, but if you read the novel, I hope you can feel it, that there is this death, and there is this strange love triangle between, because Sophia probably still loves Giovanni as well, or still, and he's making the child. And I think that's something, because for me, breaking with the expectation of my parents was very difficult, and probably the expectations of the father of Giovanni, to break with that was quite difficult for Giovanni. But I wanted to make him even more difficult to at the moment, or after the moment he decided, okay, I'm going to leave the world of ice cream making, I'm going my own path. He's going to study in Amsterdam, literature, English literature. He's becoming a program maker, an editor of a festival, a literature festival, poetry international, and world poetry. And then he becomes a director. In this path, he's really growing. He's really becoming himself, but by going back in a certain way to his youth, or making this child, sleeping with his first love, and getting this child, his biological child, but it doesn't grow up with him. I think he's completely back, and I think that's the main thing I did as a writer. But then these are the questions how I think that they hang above the novel. How can we really cut all our strings we have to our family or the past, and can we become who we are, or is it already determined by where we grew up or the people that surround us, our family?
Jedna od važnih figura je otac, o njemu ste već govorili. On je osoba koja s jedne strane nije želio se baviti sladoledarstvom, nego se želio baviti izradom nekih tehničkih predmeta razno raznih. I taj otac zapravo ima i komičnu i
He wanted to become an inventor.
Dakle, izumitelj ima jednu i komičnu i tragičnu ulogu. Dakle, sam roman počinje scenom kada se otac zaljubljuje u bacačiću kladiva i odlučuje njoj izraditi kladivo. Dakle, koliko, otkud, dakle, to je potpuno jedna bizarna situacija. I kako, dakle, ste se odlučili na to?
I think a novel needs really something like I remember a filmmaker said because Thomas Ernest, his film, I don't remember, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or something, started with a car accident. The film was, I think, 3 seconds running, and it was a bizarre car accident, really a crash and glass breaking. But then the camera went away and the story started, and I was in a Q&A afterwards. This was at the Rotterdam Film Festival, and someone asked, it was a great film, and someone asked from the audience, why this car accident? I already forgot it a little bit, but he answered, a film must start with a bang, with a crash, and I started Ice Cream Makers not with telling about ice cream or something, but I think could you read the first sentence only of the novel in Croatian?
Neposredno prije svog 80. rođendana moj se otac zaljubio.
When he was 80 years old, he fell in love, and not with a neighbor, which would be maybe more reasonable, but with Betty Heitler, who is a beautiful red hair hammer thrower. Her grandmother sent me a letter from Germany. She won on she's a world record holder with hammer throw, and she has this strange, because hammer throwers have a quite strong body, which is not the beauty ideal of a lot of women, I think. Because she has the shoulders of a butcher, I describe, I think, in my novel. But at the same time, she has this beautiful face and this beautiful movement. If you are a hammer thrower, you have to turn around 6 times. And in the 6 times, it's getting faster and faster. So you really are a ballerina. And it ends with throwing it, and then if you slow down, if you really watch, I did a lot of athletics. I was a good discus thrower. When I was a bit more stronger. I'm now writing. And it ends by making a bow. See, and it looks so beautiful. And I was really afraid of because there was a German translation, and the book sold a lot of copies in Germany as well. So I was afraid. But then, the grandmother of Betty Heitler sent me a letter that she liked it and she was proud, and she sent me postcards of Betty Heitler and some other press kits and I don't know what. And then I sent a German translation to her, and I thought, because it's kind of strange, I don't know, is it positive or is it a little bit ironic, or I'm not sure myself, but she really liked it, and it's kind of strange, but it's so strange that the wife or the mother of Giovanni and Luca doesn't get jealous, but gets worried. Is it Alzheimer, or is it so? The novel starts with a lot of strange, absurd elements, and I really like how serious the themes of the novel are, about identity, about migration a little bit, but these kind of things. I always want that people don't really understand them, or things. Do people really react like this? Or I had a conversation before I left to Zagreb with my editor in Amsterdam. I'm working now on a novel, and she was complimenting me with the dialogue between the characters, how strange they can be, and she asked me, "Is this is this how people are in your direct environment?" I said, "No, probably not. But this is how sometimes I see people react. It's really." I saw the film Nebraska. I don't know whether you know it. It's in black and white, and I watched it with my friend Terry, English guy, and my comments were after seeing the film. I said, "How absurd!" And he said, "No, this is not absurd. This is how America is now, and how people react to each other." And I think falling in love with a hammer thrower is also not absurd, but it you don't see it every day, maybe.
Ja ću sada zamoliti Ernesta da nam pročita, da čujete kako to zvuči na nizozemskom. Just to read. I onda ću ja pročitati malo dulju olomak o tome, a onda ćemo se vratiti na razgovor.
Only one person who understands Dutch, my translator. De Chinezen kregen van veel de schuld bij ons thuis, maar ook in de ijssalon in Rotterdam. Volgens mijn moeder kwam het allemaal door een oude Chinese man die op een zomerse dag op het terras van Venetië was gaan zitten. De man wees naar de tekst boven de rood-wit gestreepte luifel. IJssalon Venetië, echt Italiaans schepijs. U weet toch wel dat ijs een Chinese uitvinding is, zei hij tegen mijn vader. Nee, toen Marco Polo in 1296 terugkwam uit China had hij recepten voor ijs meegenomen. Dat verhaal heb ik nog nooit gehoord.
U mom neprofesionalnom čitanju, ali odličnom prijevodu Josipe Dvoraček to zvuči ovako. Kinezi su kod nas doma, kao i sladoledarnici u Rotterdamu, bili krivci za mnogo što. Po majčinom mišljenju sve je započelo jedan stari Kinez koji je jednog ljetnog dana sjeo na terasu Venecije. Mi smo tada još bili mali i više se ne sjećamo ničega što smo čuli. U svakom slučaju ne sjećam se svađe koja se dogodila tog sunčanog dana. Muškarac je pokazao na natpis iznad crveno-bijele prugaste tende. Sladoledarnica Venecija, pravi talijanski sladoled. Znate li da je sladoled zapravo kineski izum? Obratio se mom ocu. Ne. Kada se Marko Polo 1296. vratio iz Kine, ponio je sa sobom recepte za sladoled. Tu priču još nikad nisam čuo. Ipak je tako bilo, rekao je Kinez. Tako piše u svim povijesnim knjigama. Tko ih proučava, može se zaključiti samo jedno. Kinezi su izumili sladoled. Otac se počeo smijati. Da je sladoled kineski izum? Dugo nisam čuo nešto tako smiješno. Istina je, rekao je čovjek. Marko Polo je u Kini proveo više od 20 godina, te po povratku kući upoznao je ropljenje sa sladoledom. S rižom da, rekao je otac, ne sa sladoledom. Da, sa sladoledom. Patka s rižom, rekao je otac. Piletina s rižom, puretina s rižom. Sladoled s okusom breskve, sladoled od karamele, sladoled od vanilije. Sve to imamo. Zahvaljujući Marko Polu, zahvaljujući Kinezima. Jeste li izumili picu? Upitao je otac, kako to mislite? Jesu li Kinezi izumili picu Margaritu? Je li Marko Polo došao u Veneciju s kartonskom kutijom za pice? Ili je on zapravo bio dostavljač pice? Vi me ismijavate. Vi ismijavate moju obitelj, našu tradiciju. Jutro sam ustao u 6 sati kako bih pravio sladoled po receptu svoga djeda, koji je u svoje vrijeme skupljao snijeg u planinama. Marko Polo je bio prije njega. Želite li još nešto naručiti? Imate li sladoled od malina? Imamo pravi talijanski sladoled od malina. Stari čovjek je odmahnuo glavom. Sladoled je izvorno kineski, odvratio je. Moram li to napisati iznad vrata? To bi bilo korektno. Znate li vi što bi bilo korektno? Zabrana ulaska Kinezima u ovu sladoledarnicu. To je diskriminacija. Otac je stisnuo šake. Hoćete li kornet ili čašicu? Želio bi sladoled od malina u kornetu. Humor vam je iznimno važan, dakle, počinjete s humorom, stalno imate humor, ali zapravo miješate cijelo vrijeme to slatko i teškoću života. S jedne strane, dakle, puno humora, s druge strane, ta obitelj je zapravo duboko, možemo reći, i nesretna. Oni su imigranti, oni dolaze raditi u Nizozemsku, na sjever, to rade već generacijama, 7-8 mjeseci su negdje daleko, 3-4 mjeseca su kod kuće, tada su sa svojom djecom, djeca žive sa bakama, školuju se u Italiji u nekim internatima katoličkim. Dakle, koliko je taj život imigranata vam bio zanimljiv, koliko je on važan, koliko tu možete reći šta je tu bitno i koliko je zapravo to i neko vaše iskustvo isto iz jedne obitelji koja je makar dijelom imigrantska u Nizozemsku.
I think the story of the ice cream makers and why I wanted to tell it, that going away from a place where you live, where you have your surroundings, your house and everything, and coming only back for 3-4 months, and even leave your children back, because the children could travel with the ice cream makers until 5 or 6 years old, and then they had to go to school, and so they had to stay in a convent. And I spoke with ice cream makers and about this period, and the parents don't want to talk about it. The mothers really don't want to talk, because they look back at it as a dark period in their lives, where they were away from their children to work, and the children. Some of them told me that they had to write letters to their parents in Austria or in the Netherlands or in Belgium where they had, or in Germany where they had their ice cream shop, but they couldn't tell or couldn't write how they felt, how they missed their parents. They weren't allowed, and they were hit by the nuns. Of course, it was a different time where you could hit a child, even if you were a nun. And I think by including this in the story, in a novel, makes it even more difficult, and at the other hand more logical, but more difficult for Giovanni to leave this tradition, this family, because all the sacrifices they made in the past, everything was to establish something, an ice cream shop, which meant a lot of security, because it was a good job. There was a lot of money to be earned. They had great cars, and they had beautiful houses in Italy as well. But the price was quite high. But I wanted to include it in it, and therefore Giovanni wants to break with it, because he doesn't want this path. But breaking with it is also difficult when someone else had to do all these things and made the sacrifice. You see, the younger generation ice cream makers now, they don't. They live now in the countries where they have their ice cream shops. So they live in Amsterdam, they live in Rotterdam, but also in Vienna, because they don't want to be separated that long, 7-8 months from their children.
Giovanni, rekli ste, je s jedne strane književni kritičar, završio književnost i engleski jezik, bavi se poezijom i na kraju postaje voditelj pjesničkog festivala, dakle programski direktor. Ti dijelovi su isto fascinantni u romanu, dakle Giovanni putuje po svijetu, posjećuje sve pjesničke festivale, neke koje mi znamo, tipa kao što je Struga, zatim po Južnoj Americi. Te priče koje vi pričate smo mi čuli od naših kolega pjesnika, neke od njih. Dakle, otkud ste ih vi saznali? Jeste li i vi putovali po tim festivalima ili ste to saznali od nekog drugog?
I can't make ice cream and I can't write poems. I tried, but it wasn't a success. Either ice cream, either poems. And I knew the story of the two brothers from the beginning, and I knew that one of the brothers wants to break with the tradition, with the expectation, with everything. But what then? What kind of life then? And I wanted to have him the opposite life of his brother, Luca, who is making ice cream. And if you're making ice cream, you make ice cream in a very small kitchen. And you're there stuck for 8 months. You start quite early in the morning and you're finished late in the night sometimes when it's 34 degrees. For sure, you have to make a lot of ice cream because you sell a lot of ice cream. And what's the opposite of that? And that's someone who is every month in a different city, traveling the whole world. But I didn't want him to become a seller of toothbrushes or something, and traveling with a bag of toothbrushes. And then I was at an evening with a lot of artists, and one of them was the director of the Poetry International Festival, which is one of the oldest festivals, poetry festivals in the world. It's this year 50 years old. When I come back tomorrow on Thursday in the evening, I'll go to the opening of the 50th edition of the Poetry International Festival. And this director, Bas Kwakman, he's mentioned also at the acknowledgements, where I thank him. I had a lot of conversations with him, interviews, because I wanted to know everything about his job. And I think I chose this because it had this great imagination. It was beautiful, and it had the advantage that I could quote poetry, because I can't write poetry, but I really like to read poems. And I didn't want to quote the poems that we all know, but the international poems, the international poetry that the festival had collected over all these years. So I really read the collections they made after every festival edition, and tried to find the poems that struck me, that moved me, and they're being cited, I say, they're being called in the novel.
Također, dakle, Giovanni kada putuje zapravo fasciniran hotelima, hotelskim sobama, koliko dakle su mu hotelske sobe važne, koliko su vama hoteli važni. Mi imamo jednog pisca iz Srbije, Dragana Velikića, koji je apsolutno fasciniran hotelima. On bilježi svaki hotel u kojem je bio, fotografira ga, ima sve živo o tom hotelu, povijest svakog hotela. Dakle, koliko je Giovanni isto tako fasciniran hotelima i u krajnjoj liniji zašto?
There's a chapter, I think 8 pages or something, 7 pages. I wanted to write it longer, but my editor didn't agree with that. So don't be too experimental, Ernest. You will lose a lot of readers. And in this chapter, I'm describing only hotel rooms, and I think 95% of what I describe is really true, and because I collected stories of people, you could see actually whales from the hotel room in Durban in South Africa. If you ask for a room at the front side, at the seaside, and there is actually on one of there's a hotel where you have a guard sitting outside of your hotel room because it's unsafe to book a hotel in this country. And so there are really examples. When you go to the Hotel Metropole in Brussels and you put on the television, you are being welcomed in 9 languages. And describing this is also because it's being described, or this chapter is in the novel, I think after the conception of the son of Sofia and Giovanni, but it's not his. It is his son, biological, but it's not his son. And so he's back again, traveling and going in these hotel rooms. And I think I described a certain emptiness and loneliness, existential loneliness. And what does it mean if you don't really have a house if you can't go back? And that's the opposite life his brother has. His brother has this house in Italy, which belongs to families and generations. And I think I wanted to describe it because of this reason. And of course, if I go to a hotel room, I see things as well. I was with the ice cream makers touring in Germany, and I was in Heidelberg, put in this 5-star hotel room, which is really great. And I'm always working, always writing, having a deadline or having to read something, and so it was quite a mess. I opened just my suitcase, and so it didn't look nice. But I wasn't expecting someone in my hotel room, because my girlfriend wasn't there, so shouldn't invite other people in my hotel room. And then there was a knock on the door, and I was working, I was really writing, and there was this. I went to it was this blonde young woman with a plate with chocolate and strawberries, and this was their complimentary thing to offer their guests, and she said, where can I put the plate in your room? And she had to step over my suitcase, and the desk was with my laptop and with my notes, and she put it, and then I said, okay, bye. And what would be a good ingredient? But you find apples in hotel rooms, and condoms, and Bibles, and it's really a great chapter, I think.
Yeah, it is.
But the hotel room, I'm now the Palace Hotel. How would I describe it? It's nothing really strange, I think. The smell of the corridor is a bit strange. There's a smell. I don't know what it is exactly. But there are not really noises or something, and it's quiet, and air conditioning is great, but I put it out because it's too cold for me. Yeah, it's a good hotel room. No one knocking on the door. No beautiful Croatian women offering chocolates and strawberries. But maybe tomorrow.
So they were here. So. Dakle, ali kada zapravo govorimo ko je pravi umjetnik u toj obitelji, pravi umjetnik je zapravo Luka. Dakle, on je stvarni umjetnik pravljenja sladoleda, radi sladoled od najnemogućih kombinacija. Dakle, da li ste te sve nemoguće kombinacije probali? Može li se napraviti sladoled od svih tih kombinacija koje ste stavili u knjigu? I zapravo za sam kraj, koji sladoled vi najviše volite?
I think all flavors could be made. I'm not for sure if they ever were made, but you don't really find surprises. You sometimes really think, because there was an ice cream maker that made ice cream of wood. So you put wood in water and make tea out of it, something like that, and then you can make ice cream of it. But also someone who made out of blood, like you have blood sausages, I think. It's kind of interesting taste. I was in Longarona. There's the oldest ice cream fair in the world, taking place in January, I think, and I was there and I tasted in 2 days, I think, over 100 flavors. I didn't swallow everything because it felt a bit. You had this German energy drink, I don't know, Monster or something, green. You should taste. This is the new. This will be the new trend next year. But I couldn't eat it. It was so. And there was this. There were these Brazilian ladies presenting ice cream, which were as firm as their breasts. I think it was all fake. The ice cream was really hard, and because they had nuts in it, and were made of fruits I didn't know, these tropical fruits, and so they were saying, no, this will be the trend. But there was also a guy from Arabia, and making ice cream with pineapple nuts, I say, and also the Indians have this sticks, I say, sandalwood. And he made ice cream with these two ingredients, kind of fascinating, but also one ice cream maker with ice cream of olive oil, or ice cream of ricotta, ice cream of bread, really the taste of bread. If you want to eat bread, you eat bread, not ice cream. But so all these things, and I think the brothers in the book, Giovanni and Luca, they are, when they're young, and Giovanni is also into ice cream making at the time, they have conversation about the perfect vanilla ice cream, because there is the holy grail for ice cream making is the perfect vanilla ice cream. But what is it? And then they have this competition also with other ice cream makers, and then one day Luca makes it, and Giovanni is already has betrayed his family, because it's funny, you say Luca is the real artist, but I'm not sure. The father is saying it to Giovanni. He says Luca is the real artist, but that's really putting a knife in his back, because not poetry is art, but ice cream making is art. So I'm not sure who's the real artist, but you might be right. But it's something really a knife driven in Giovanni. And one day Luca the artist makes vanilla ice cream, which is perfect, and which has the consistency of really being strong, but also has air in it, and being soft, like fluweel, like silk, or like something like that. It's really beautiful written down in a novel. It's really difficult. And then the father tastes it, and he says, yes, you're brilliant, because your ice cream, or this vanilla ice cream, is as soft and strong as the buttocks, as from Sophia Loren in the film Ieri Oggi Domani. I've seen it once I think I was 20, and I still remember how beautiful this Sophia Loren was in the movie. And she does a striptease for Marcello Mastroianni, which is a great actor, really. And I think he's gay in the film, and he's not bothered, but whole Italy never ever forgets this scene where Sophia Loren is stripping, and it's really decent. It's the 70s or 60s, so the bikini and all, it's not really naked, but then she turns around and all Italy sees her buttocks, and then the father is tasting, and he sees and tastes this perfect ice cream. So I hope one day you will find such great ice cream as described in the novel.
Dok ćete tražiti taj savršeni sladoled, čitajte knjigu Ernesta van der Kwasta Sladoledari. U njoj ćete naći mnogo odlične poezije, mnogo vrhunske književnosti i mnogo zabave. Ernst van der Kwast.